All right, so on the video, we're going to go through the quantitative reasoning slash introduction to Excel worksheet. So this is on in page 1 of the worksheets. So it starts off asking the question, why go to college? College, what's the purpose of a college education? List 3 specific purposes, right? So you might come up with a different list than I did. So let me just list what I had thought of. So number 1, I thought of for career, right? So maybe to get a new career. Number 2, to get life skills, right? So college teaches you skills to use throughout your life. And then number 3, a big reason would be critical thinking. Right? So a course in quantitative reasoning can help develop all 3 of these skills, right? It can give you skills that are marketable that you can use in your career. They'll give you skills that you can use throughout your life. And then a big part of the course is developing critical thinking, right? And then the next question asks, what is critical thinking? List 3 characteristics of critical thinking, right? So again, your list might be a little different than mine. So number 1, I thought asking informed questions. Would be one. Secondly, weighing both sides of an argument, right? So being able to see both sides. Right. And then lastly, I had thought I would be able to recognize and define problems, right? Recognize and define problems. Are all characteristics of critical thinking, right? And there are certainly others that you could have listed, right? So just to get us thinking a little bit about QR. So then the next part is some more introduction to Excel. So we're given a screenshot here and asked some questions. And I'm going to replicate this, using the screenshot, I'm going to replicate this file. So in cell B2, right, we have typed item, and then we have soda, water, popcorn, cookie, and hot dog. Oops, it's 2 words. Right. So then notice, then we have what quantity, cost per item, and cost along the top there. So we need to make this a little bigger. I'm gonna boldface this as it is in the text here. Then we have the quantities 3, 1, 3, 4, 2 down, and these are filled in yellow with all borders, right? So we can use this to put borders around, put the lines around. And then we have $1, 0.75, $1.50, 50 cents, and $2. Oops, too many decimals. Right. So then if you notice, this format is a special type of format we call currency, right? Or accounting. So if I highlight this, and then if I click this here, this dollar sign, it'll put that in that format, the accounting format, right? So it recognizes it like dollars, right? And again, the value for each box stays the same, right? We're just making it look different. So it makes it easier for the reader to understand that this unit is currency, right? So then from here to here, this is highlighted in green, right? So I'm gonna do all borders and make it this green color that's in the text. And then in D9 they have subtotal, and then tax at 8%, and then total, right? And then this is also in that green with all borders. And that's also as currency, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit currency, the dollar sign, and also highlight these and hit the dollar sign, right? So now I'm able to work with this Excel file, right? Just as we have it listed here, right? And notice also at the bottom here, the sheet is named sales order, right? So you can double click here, or I can right click and hit rename, and we can title this sales order, right? Just as it has listed. So now everything appears to match, right? So the first question asks us, what formula is entered in cell E3, right? So this is E3. So what this box is doing, this cell, is calculating how much do I pay for 3 sodas when they cost $1 a piece, right? So to get that, right, we would want equals, take how many we have, cell C3, times how much one costs, right, D3, right? And we get $3 as shown, right? So, which is good. So this is the formula. Right? And notice for times that Excel uses the asterisk, right? So that's just something that you have to get used to, right? So grab my pen. So we'll formula here. Right, remember every time we do formula, we start with equals. So equals, and then you would want cell C3 asterisk, right, for times, and then we want to multiply times cell D3, right? So that's the formula that would be here, right? Cell E3. So then now it says how do you fill that? How do you fill this formula down, right? So what we do is we highlight the cell. So highlight the cell, then click the fill handle, click on fill handle, and drag down. Right. Let me fix this. So click on the fill handle. There, that's better. Right, so highlight the cell, click on the fill handle, and then drag down. Right? So this is what we do, right? We click on the cell. Oops, right? So click on the cell, click on the fill handle, right click, and then drag down. And that drags it down for each of these, right? And this would be a relative cell addressing, which we want, right? Because when I pull this down, I want the blue and the red to go down respectively also, right? So I don't want to fix anything. I want it to pull down so it multiplies these two things together to get the cost, right? And we can check everything matches, right? In terms of the outputs, right? So then now I'll go to the next page. So number 3 says what happens to the cell references in the formula when you fill down, right? So when we fill down, right, what happens to the cell references? So like when I fill down, notice up, oops, don't want to do that. So let me just delete that out of there, right? Right. So when I fill this down, the formula. So the formula was equals C3 times D3, right? But when I fill down once, what it becomes is equals, right? So if we double click here, what we end up getting is C4 times D4, right? So what happens is the number increases, right? So notice the columns stay the same because I'm filling down, right? So when I fill down, it's going to add 1 each time to the rows, right? So what happens to the cell reference in the formula when you fill down? We can say that the numbers increase, right? So we could say like C3 to C4, D3 to D4, etc. Right? So the number 4 says what built-in function can be used in cell E9. Right? So we're talking about cell E9, which is a subtotal. Oops. Get rid of that. Right? So cell E9, so first of all, built-in function means a function where we're actually typing in some command, right? So an example of that would be the sum function, right, which you should have learned about while reading the text, right? So we can use the sum function. The sum function. Right? So the sum function, so if I click in cell E9, if I hit equals, and then I start typing sum, then notice that the built-in functions show up here below, right? So we want this one that's just sum. And if you don't remember which one to do, right, notice it says here adds all numbers in a range of cells, right? So it reminds you what the function does, right? The built-in function. If I double click on that, then now I'm using that function, and now it's giving me prompts for what I need to input, right? So I can input a list of numbers, or I can do a range of numbers, right? So I can just highlight, and it does the range for me, right? So I went cell E3 to E7, right, with the colon in between showing a range. So then if I close the parentheses and hit enter, then it will find that sum, right? So the formula that I'm using here is the following. Right, we're doing equals sum and then cell E3 to E7. Right? So that answers that question. So then 5, if you format the tax in cell E10 to show 0 decimal places, what happens to the output in cell E11? Right? So let's show this, right? So in order to calculate tax, what we would do is take the subtotal times 0.08, right? 8%. And that calculates how much tax you pay. So then to find the total, we would add the subtotal plus how much we pay in taxes. So equals E9 plus E10. And if I hit enter, then I'm now getting all of those, right? And if we just look at the previous page real quick, you can double check our numbers match, right? $14.25, $14, $15.39, right? So now I have this Excel file finished, right? So then what it's asking you, if you format the cell E10, so cell E10, which is this cell, if we format to show 0 decimal places, what happens to cell E11, right? So I want to know what happens to this cell if I make this one have 0 decimal places. So we can come up here and where it says decrease decimal, so I'm going to do it until I see 0 decimal places. And if you notice, this was unchanged, right? Just as I had mentioned before, we're changing how this cell looks, but it's still saving that value when it calculates this value, right? So if I increase the decimal places, it doesn't influence this whatsoever, right? So it's just cosmetic, right? So what we could add here is we can say nothing. It stays the same, right? There. Right. All right. So now it looks like we're shifting gears here. We're coming up with another Excel file, right? So they left this as sheet 2. So notice this title goes from B2 to F2. All right, so let me zoom in here. So I'm going to highlight cell B2 to F2, and notice the title looks like just one box all the way across, right? So to make it look like that, you want to merge these files or these cells together. So you can right click on it, and then you can go to format cells and then alignment, and then you can just check this box merge cells and hit OK, right? I'm gonna cancel out and show you another way also, right? So you can do that, or we can hit this button here. This is merge and center, so it's gonna merge the cells and also center the text in the middle, right? So I'm gonna hit merge and center, and now I can type in that title, which was revenue per item per concert, right? And notice this is in like a green box, and it looks bold, right? So we can make it bold. And then in cell C3, right? So we're just paying close attention to how this is labeled. So it's important to get everything in the right cells, so that way if they ask specific questions of us, we can answer them correctly, right? So concert 1, concert 2, concert 3, and it says totals. So these cells are in, so it looks like maybe like this type of color. And the formatting is not nearly as important, but I'm just making it so that way it's consistent. Whoops, no, this is more of this color. Right? And then all of this is like a light blue, maybe like that, with borders. And then this same as that. And then here I have totals. See, this is in black. And here that means this, we want to make the text white, right? So I'll make the text white in that box. And then this is like a cream, that cream color, something like that, right? So I think I have it pretty well formatted. So I'm trying to tell. I don't think they did calculation. They just have this data, right? So $46, $30.75, $25.50, $36, $68, then $63, $45, $30, $49, $74, $53, $48.75, 18, 44.5, 54, right? So I'm going to highlight this and make it the currency format so it looks like money, right? And that's all I'm going to input. Everything else I can use formulas to get. So one thing that you're going to learn is it's best to actually just type in actual numbers, type numbers in the least, right? You want to use cell referencing. That's the power of Excel. So that way if one thing changes, you don't have to track down every time you use that number in your Excel file, right? So that's going to come up as we get more and more in the curriculum, more obvious. But you want to get in the habit, again, of not typing in as many things, right? Just like before I did the multiplication table, I used cell referencing to get all the actual multiplying, right? I entered one formula in after I had the 1 through 12 along the top and the side. Remember, I entered just one formula in to get all the multiplying values, all the products, right? So like here, this is the total from concert 1, right? So we can do equals, and I can type in sum, and then select this range, right? And then I don't have to type in formulas into these boxes, right? I can just pull this across, and it's going to add up all of those for me, right? Except remember this was black, right? The formatting pulls over also. So then here we want to add, add these together, right, for all the soda, and then pull this down, right? And then we should get the same values, right? So now I have this complete, right? Besides doing the chart, right? But let's see what the directions ask of us, right? So number 6 says, how do you change the name of the sheet tabs? Right? So like how we change the bottom to sales order, right? So one way to do this is to double click on the sheet tab, the name will highlight, or will be highlighted, right? And then you just change the name. Right? So what I'm saying is remember how we changed this. So I can just double click on it, and now it's highlighted, and I can just type whatever I want, right? I can type in Tyler, and type in sales order as it was, right? We can change that however you would like. Right? So the number 7 says, what buttons do you hit in the menu to format the numbers as currency? What button makes borders? Right? So to format something as currency, we hit this $ button, right? So for a currency, we hit this button, the $, right? This equals currency. And then to get borders, we hit the button that looks like a window pane, which looks like this, right? Which is this button here, right? So then 8 says, to create the chart, what cell range was highlighted in the worksheet, right? So to create this, we're looking at what was highlighted in the worksheet. So in order to create that, I would highlight cell B, maybe cell B2. I wouldn't say B2. I would say B3 to E8, right? Is what I would say that they highlighted, right? So and we can try that here. So if we go B3 to E8, we can try to replicate that chart. So we go to Insert, and then we want to do a stacked bar chart, right? So here's the stacked bar chart, right? So does that look like hot dog? Yes, this looks like the right chart, right? So that was correct. So for number 8, we would do B3 to E8, right? That was the range. So in the original item, we needed to highlight this, right? What's in red there. And then I said what type of chart this is. It's a stacked bar chart, right? That's what that's referred to as. Stacked bar chart. Right. All right, well that ends this worksheet. So let me close this, and then so if we go into week 1 agenda, so I'm going to post a video here. Then you can see there you can start working on Excel assignment 1 now. You should have enough information to work on that. So if you click on this, right, it says there are 2 parts of this assignment. Part 1 is to follow directions on the budget tab in the Excel file below, and then part 2 is to recreate the 4 charts in section 3 of the Introduction to Excel chapter in the e-text in the appropriate tab in the Excel file below, right? So if I click on this Excel file, then I can download it and save it to your desktop or wherever you're wanting to save it, right? So this is the homework assignment, right? So with these, I would highly recommend that you minimize out so you can see all the parts, right? And then we can zoom in and then work. So that way you don't miss any of the directions, right? Because there might be these direction boxes where you want to make sure you can find all of those, right? So don't, be careful not to forget any of those. So you'll just follow the boxes. It tells you exactly what to do, what to enter, and follow along. It should be pretty easy. And then notice at the bottom here, I have a chart 1 tab, chart 2, chart 3, and chart 4, right? So you're going to replicate chart 1 on chart 1 tab, right? Chart 2 and chart 2 tab, and so forth. So there are 4 charts in section 3 of the text. I want you to practice and replicate those, right? So then when you're finished with that, then you can just save this, and then you'll upload it right in here in Canvas, right? So I don't see the button because I'm an instructor, but there should be a button like Add Excel File or whatnot, and then you just tell Canvas where your Excel file is, and then you submit it, right? If you have any problems with that, just let me know. All right.